Hey guys and gals, Ranch Racer here from Love & Watches, and welcome to the latest edition of On the Bench. Today we're going to be taking a look at a relatively new offering from Spinnaker watches, and this is the Bradner compressor diver. I actually did a write-up on this watch for on wristwatchreview.com, but wanted to get a video out there on the Love & Watches website for you guys. I know a lot of y'all prefer videos, so I thought I'd just take a few minutes to talk about the watch and my experience with it. It's been a fun one to wear. I've actually had this one in for a couple months now. I'm getting ready to send it on to the next reviewer, but I enjoyed it, and it comes in several different dial colors. I think there's a blue dial. There's a couple other colors. You can check it out on Spinnaker's website, which is spinnaker-watches.com. But anyway, onto the review. So again, this is done in the style of the compressor diver, and I say style because most quote unquote compressors are not really compressors, and so the compressor design was patented back in the 50s, and the whole idea was, in the original compressors, like, they didn't have a screw down crown. All right, this has got the screw down crown. They were designed to be able to withstand much deeper depths than the divers of the time. And the way they did that is they had an inner rotating bezel as opposed to an external bezel, which this one has. And then the case back, obviously back in the day, they were solid case backs. They could be screw down, they could be bayonet, and I think they could even be just a pop-on case back. But the idea was there was a spring, circular spring, that went between the case and the case back, and as you descended into the depths and the pressure increased, the case back would actually get squeezed tighter onto the case, and that would give you your water resistance. They also had special springs and gaskets for the crown, or for both crowns, and I believe, no, none of them were front loading. They were back loading, because that's how they did the case. I think the crystals were still put in from the outside, but I'm not 100% sure. It would make sense, because if you put it on from the outside, then it would also compress to the case. So anyway, that was the idea behind the compressor, and I think generally when they were patented, they were good for 600 meters or so. So very, very deep diving depths. This guy is 150 meters, so it's not a true compressor, but that's really not the idea here. Anyway, this is modeled after those. It's designed to look vintage. It's got kind of vintage style loom on it, and again, it's got the inner rotating bezel. This guy runs the Seiko NH35, so good movement, good solid movement with the date. Pretty cool hands. I don't know what I think it's called, like a club style hand on the hour hand, and then just a batten on the minute hand, and then we've got the loom pip on the near the end of the seconds hand there. So again, this is a 42 millimeter, pretty thick. And actually, let me grab the good old measuring device here, and we'll show you guys the thickness. So if we look at the thickness here, it's a big boy, going on 14 millimeters. So this is a very thick watch, 42 millimeters, I believe, in diameter. Yep, 42. So this is not, this watch isn't for the faint of heart. It's not for the small wristed. It's, Perpetual Girl tried it on, and it, with the lugs, it definitely hung over the edges of her wrist, and it's very thick. Comes with a nice leather strap. It's a very thick strap, so I mean, everything about this watch is big, bold, diver. It's got some nice applied indices. One thing I like about the dial, it's got a lot of levels. So if we look at kind of the top level, that's your inner rotating bezel. And then one level down, you've got your chapter ring, your minute track, and then you drop another level to the main dial, and you have your applied indices. The one thing I struggled with this guy is it's very difficult to see, even if we put it in the light here, it's super difficult to see the minute markers either on the chapter ring or the raised ones on the rotating bezel, which there you go, you can kind of see them in here. You've got the raised pips, so tough to see those. For most folks, it's probably not going to matter if you're kind of anal like I am about setting your watches every morning and hacking to atomic time. It's a little frustrating because it's hard to see those marks. So that was really kind of the only negative I had, other than the size of this guy. And we'll put it on so you guys can see it here. And I have 7.5-inch wrists, and it even wears big on me. I mean, I can pull it off. It's not horrible, but it's a good size watch. You can see the thickness there. It really stands out. Cool band. I like the minimal stitching. Again, very vintagey, and it's got a kind of suede. It's a suede style band with a nice pin buckle with the Spinnaker name there. You know, this, I think if I had worn it more to break the strap in, because this is a brand new watch, this came with all the plastics on it and everything, but I didn't find the strap super comfortable just because it's really thick and not super flexible. So I tried it on an Erica's Originals, I tried it on some NATOs. All of those made it wear a little bit smaller, and I hate that term. Things don't wear smaller, but it just felt a little more svelte, basically, you know, because you can see how thick. It's a very, very thick strap. Nice strap. And again, if I had worn it more on the strap, I think, you know, I think it probably would have broken in and been a little softer and nicer, but it is still a very nice strap. And like I said, I really like the vintage look to it, the minimal stitching on each end. 20, let's see, let's measure. I believe it's 22, although I could be wrong. They might be 20 on the lug width. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, 20 actually. And that's right, because I think all of my Erica's Original straps are 20 millimeters. So plenty of opportunity to swap out straps. Not quick release. I do prefer to see quick release straps on watches these days. There just doesn't seem to be any reason not to do it. So that would be one improvement I would recommend. Again, we do have the display case back, so you've got the custom Spinnaker rotor on this guy, which is kind of cool, the black rotor. Zoom in there. So nice view of the movement. It's not, you know, this is kind of typical NH35, typical micro brand where they'll take an NH35, do a custom rotor, and call it a day. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's the movement's not dressed up. You know, they didn't do anything special on the bridges or anything, but that's pretty common. And at this price point, I would never expect a really dressed up movement. I personally am a date guy, so I like the date on this. I know a lot of folks don't like dates. I don't think they did a terrible job integrating it. They basically replaced the 3 o'clock index that you would see over here at 9. They replaced that with a date window. That's pretty common. That's the layout of this particular movement. I love the big bold numbers on this guy, on the rotating bezel. It looks great at night. I don't think I've got it charged here, but so you can't really see the loom. But it does look excellent at night. I've got some pictures on my feed, some loom shots. Pretty minimal on the dial, just the Spinnaker text up at just under 12 o'clock, and then automatic and 500 foot, 150 meter on the bottom. And then nice loom on the hands as well. You'll notice it's a little bit different color loom. So the hands light up in a different shade at night. One thing I really like about this guy, and I'm sure you've noticed it during the video, you get all kinds of vintage style distortion because it's a really tall and domed crystal. And you can see, I mean, that's just so cool. I love that. I know a lot of people don't like the distortion. I think it's super cool, very vintage vibe to it. So I really like that distortion on the edge. I think it's super cool. So, like I said, my time with this watch, I have really enjoyed it. Don't know if I'd buy one myself, mainly just because of the thickness. And compressors do tend to be thick because of the way they're designed. And again, since this is not a true compressor, they could have gone thinner. But they've got like I said, they've got the big domed crystal, which adds height. They've got all the different levels with the internal bezel, which again, the internal bezel takes up some height there under the crystal, and then the raised chapter ring. So, I mean, part of the design dictated the thickness. Seems to me they could have gone a little thinner on the back of the case, but again, that's it's just the way that this thing was designed. It's got a nice angled bezel. This is all brushed. I think the only polishing is at the end of the crowns, and we can see here we've got the Spinnaker logo right there on the setting crown, and then this crown is left untouched. But nice brushing on the case sides. It's a nice case. They did a nice job. I don't know what factory this comes out of in China. Most of the factories now are doing pretty nice cases. The other thing I would have loved to have seen on this would have been drilled lugs, since they didn't go with the quick release. The drilled lugs would have been nice, made it a little easier. Again, that's just a style preference. But anyway, so it's the Spinnaker Bradner. You can get it on spinnaker-watches.com. Retail, I believe, is $285 US dollars. So you get a lot for your money with this guy. Spinnaker has a lot of neat offerings. This is the only one I've done a hands-on review with, but hoping to get some more Spinnakers in, because from what I'm seeing, I'm pretty impressed with the brand. I'm liking what I'm seeing with these guys. So again, this comes in some different dial colors. I believe there's a blue dial, there may be a green dial. So you've got your choice of dials, but they all do have the dark index marks. So it's, like I said, it's pretty tough to see the minute marks on this guy, which is kind of my only pet peeve aside from the drilled lugs. But all in all, a nice watch. If you don't mind the thickness and you're looking for a fun, compressor style vintage dive watch, I think you would do well with the Spinnaker Bradner. So that is it for this edition of On the Bench. I appreciate you guys watching. Again, you can follow us on YouTube at 11 Watches. On Instagram, we're at 11 Watches. Please check us out, and look forward to bringing you guys more of these videos.